All right, welcome everybody to the AP podcast. Today we have special guest Julio Gamez. Julio is a high-level men's physique athlete. He's competed at the Arnold Classic, done really well. And so I just want to have him on the podcast today. Welcome, Julio.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
So kind of cool.
Yeah. It's kind of a new experience being on the podcast, put out some more content. I know you have a business thriving right now coming up in the works with your apparel. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you, maybe your background, give some groundwork for the viewers.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, originally from Venezuela, so I wasn't born here in the U.S. I was brought up when I was like 13, 14. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't start it, first of all, I had to learn English and stuff. So when I was finishing high school, I had a class called advanced conditioning. And that's literally what got me into lifting weights, which, I was really in the corner of the class, like just doing curls and shit. So I wasn't like very popular for lifting weights, but I never let it go. So I was like pretty consistent on lifting weights. My barber, the guy that used to do my hair, was the guy that really he was like, hey man, like you put in some muscle. And, so he basically kind of encouraged me to do my first show. I took his word. I was like, okay, I'll try. I never competed before. And my first show was up there in Spokane, and I took first as a junior.
Oh, wow.
And so my very first show, it kind of like gave me like, okay, so you kind of got some potential for this. So I took it pretty seriously right after my first show. But I got too crazy though. I did too many shows that first year. I kind of burned myself out. And then I took a smarter approach and I started doing like only 2 shows a year. And then, so like you mentioned, I did the Arnold 2015. That was my first Arnold too. And I took first.
Yeah, so, I saw you took first in the shit.
Yeah. That was super crazy. Actually, my buddies, the ones that were like my roommates, they were like, damn, dude, you don't even know how crazy this is, And I was like, yeah, I don't know, bro. This is like so amazing. At the moment, I was like, hell yeah, but I didn't really know what it meant. And now throughout the years, I've been going back to the Arnold, but I haven't been doing as well. I mean, I've been placing, top 5, top 6, but it's hard, bro. It's hard to go back to that first place. And as you know, at the Arnold, you gotta get the overall in order to become professional. So just because I'm not a citizen, so I had to keep doing the international shows. I'm planning on doing the Olympia next year.
Really?
Amateur. So
amateur, yeah, but still.
Yeah. So I probably, if I mean, the idea, of course, is become professional, but if not, I'll definitely shoot for Arnold and Olympia.
Yeah.
Level, so that would be
big shows, man. I mean, that's like pretty cool to say. And it's cool that a hometown like Spokane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're going to Arnold and freaking winning your class and everything. So that's awesome. What's in so you're going back next year?
Yeah. So the Arnold, I'm not gonna do it because I'm bringing out my family and stuff. Like I got some stuff on the side that hold me back a little, but the Olympia, I'm shooting for the Olympia next year. And like you said, they're big shows, so it's better to do those. Like I feel like it's better to do those because if you do well, like if you do place like first, second, or third, you're in a really good path. Like for like as soon as you become professional, you're not gonna be like hanging around for like 5 years until you go to the Olympia. If you do get your pro card in like those big shows, you have a really good chance to just go straight to the Olympia. And that's my thing, like I'm okay being an amateur, but when I become a professional, I know I'm gonna kill those pros. I'm gonna, what I mean. I'm gonna be at their level. So it's it's like waiting. You kind of feel like frustrated because you're not there yet, but
process.
Everything takes time.
Yeah. Well, tell us. Like, I want to know about the publicity of winning that thing and just like competing in these big shows. Tell me, tell us a little bit about your business too and how that's kind of correlated together. And you know what I mean? Because I know you're starting an apparel line. How's that been going on?
Like when the winning the Arnold like really helped me to create a big not big, but a bigger platform that I then a bigger platform than what I used to have.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I was like, okay, so I need to do something. I need to capitalize or do something with this, because otherwise, what's the purpose, right? So I decided at first I was just trying to get, to get people that were starting up, to kind of like to help them out somehow. And I wasn't like a coach, because I was starting to, but I knew what it took to being 200 pounds and go down to 170 and look shredded.
Yeah.
So I knew the process. So, but I wasn't like a nutritionist. I didn't know what could happen if I cut all my sodium and I could drink a bunch of water, or what could happen if I do a bunch, I took all the sodium out and I don't cut my water, whatever, you know what I mean? I didn't know any process at all. So basically, with the coaching, I was like, okay, so I kept getting more followers and followers and followers. And we moved down here to San Diego like 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, so we had a bunch of savings. We moved down here, and then we decided to start the clothing line. It was a passion of mine as well. It's like one of those things that you're like, okay, so if you want to do, like, that's the only way I feel like you could do this is by having everything correlate, because if you had, let's say if I had like a outer part, business.
Yeah.
And then I do like bodybuilding, and then I do like, I don't know.
Kind of all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything correlates. So like when I'm at the gym, I could have someone ask me, hey man, can you coach me for my next show? Or I literally can have someone like, hey man, you got those joggers that you just brought it, so it all works out. Every time I go to the gym or anytime I post something, the same audience that is looking at, potentially hiring me as a coach could potentially buy a t-shirt from me or something.
Yeah.
So that's the key, you can, because if you're all over the place, it's hard to utilize that
time.
audience. Yeah. To become successful in that specific area. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's I'm noticing that too as I'm transitioning and, being younger, you do like side jobs of whatever, if it was construction or some, physical labor is what I used to do when growing up, and realizing that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. But transitioning and like competing, and then really learning about something that you're passionate about, and then seeing how you can give them something, and then correlate it together so you can actually make a career out of it. Agree with you 100%. And it makes it a lot easier too, huh? Like it makes it fun.
Yeah. Because I mean, let's say when you're posting, you're posting a video of yourself doing squats.
Mm-hmm.
You just broke your personal record. Let's just call it, right? You just broke 4 or 5 for the first time. But then you got all your clothing when you record that video. So now you're not just promoting yourself. You're promoting the clothing as well.
Yep.
And of course, you're promoting not just yourself as a trainer, but your knowledge and all the skills that you have, so it's a lot that, when you can correlate and connect a bunch of stuff together, and that's what they call compounding, right? You can compound a bunch of stuff and capitalize it all together. So, and I feel like that you're doing the same thing. I feel, and that's why I feel like we connect, because we're in the same, not in the same path, but we are compounding, all the knowledge we have. And all the ideas, we keep it in the same route, the same street. We don't go from,
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So I guess for the viewers is, you starting a clothing line and obviously winning that big shows helped you grow publicity. But what would you say, maybe if somebody else is trying to start a clothing line, whether it's fitness or not? Like, what is kind of like the hardest thing? What is something that you give them advice now that you've been doing it for a little while and just, hustling to grow? What would you give some like advice, I guess? You know what I mean?
Well, the advice I would say is just literally start, man. Don't overthink it. Just go for it, and you'll figure it out on your way. Because I don't know, I read this thing somewhere, and it says that, I mean, mistakes are mistakes. You're gonna make either a good mistake or bad mistakes, but they're both gonna help you. So like, starting the clothing line or starting whatever it is you want to start, you're not gonna learn if you don't really actually do it. You gotta go for it, and then you actually gonna start. Like when I started my clothing line, I just came up with some tank tops. That's what I started with, and they sold, but very slowly. They were like, oh, okay, cool. But then I was like, okay, so I need to find different ways to get this thing out of here, because I don't want to invest on clothing to just have it, to just have it there storage.
Yeah.
I want to have clothing to actually sell it and then get something else, and then sell it, get something else. You want to have a flow.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you create more inventory, and you grow and you grow. That's how you see progress, basically. So yeah, the advice I would say, just start. Put all your effort in that specific thing. Don't try to, if you put it all together, like I said, if you put it all in the same street, if you're into fitness, put it all into fitness, and then, because you can have a clothing line, you can be coaching, but it's all related. So it's not going to distract you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, just do it.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think that a lot of people, whether it's, clothing line or anything in life, big thing holding them back is just them taking the first step, right?
Right.
Pretty much there's just so much things that you could be scared about in a process of creating your own thing. And I just admire the people that, entrepreneurs, or just people that are willing to like step outside their comfort zone. You know what I mean? And just do it. 'Cause yeah, like you said, you're gonna fuck up. You know what? You're gonna, and we all do. But the thing is in the long run, nobody's gonna really remember those little things.
Those little things, they're gonna remember what you actually accomplished. If you made it to, I don't know, if you made it to like 50 or 40 different states, your brand is for different states. That's what they're gonna know you for, because you're all over the place. Not because you made a bad T-shirt back in 2002.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that. So it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of going back into like competing and stuff, tell us a little bit about the process of preparing for a show. I know I've competed and stuff, but not as high a level, obviously, as you.
Yeah.
Tell us the process of, how many weeks out, what's the nutrition look like? If you want to give any insight on that, to help people really get an actual perspective of what it takes to compete. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I would, I had a lot of people that I've seen with me since I started. And, one of the biggest thing always is rushing into a show. I would say that's one of the biggest mistake people, and they're wasting their time, wasting their money, wasting their effort, and one of the biggest thing is just, when you're ready, when you feel comfortable, you feel confident. But besides that, when I look into a show, I look into, okay, so am I doing anything? Is there any trip, anything that's going to get me offline? I want to make sure everything is looking structured, that I know for a fact I'll accomplish what I said I will do, that I will make it to the show in the shape I want to make it. Because when you decide to actually go for a show, this is very, for people that are trying to win a show, you look into every single detail. You be like, okay, so I want to make sure I'm good economically, first of all. I can afford a coach. I can afford the food. I can afford.
How much do you think that you would, have to set aside to do a show, you think?
Oh,
if
man.
you didn't have any sponsors. Realistically.
I would say about like, for me right now, it's about like $4,000 or $5,000. $4,000 or $5,000. If it's not in your area, if you had to, pay a ticket to go wherever you're going to go, hotel, your diet, your coach, signing up for the show, buying your shorts, tanning, so much, man. And then, if you want it to be, you want it to be done to the T. You want it to be done perfect, especially if you want to win. So for the first timers, I would say just go for it. Don't look at the perfection. Just look at making progress. That's all I would focus on at first. And that's what I was focusing on at first. My back was my lucky, like my weakest part. Now it's like my strength.
Now you're sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now my chest is one of the things I want to improve. And at first was my strength. And now I kind of like, I'm lacking on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because, you know, like as you get wider, you need to go side to side with the thickness, because it's not that my chest is small, because when I'm relaxed, I literally got boobs. But when I open up for like posing, it just get flatter, you know, get this, you know what I mean? So
I know. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that, you know, that as you progress, you got to look at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, to go back to the structure. So you got to look at the structure. Basically, I took 12 weeks, you know. So let's say if I'm competing in June, I'll start in January.
What kind of body fat percentage did you start at, you think?
I really enjoy being between, you know, no higher than 15%. You know, I try to keep myself under 15%, and, you know, off season, I don't want to be under 9%, 10%. I feel like I'm not, my body's not comfortable to lift heavy, to maintain the amount of reps I want to be doing. And so that's off season. You know, doing actual shredding time, I maintain the weight. I don't lower the weight. One of the things I learned, because one of my first shows, I used to think that, you know, bulking season is little reps, a bunch of weight. You know, cutting season was like, you know, a lot of reps, little weight, and really all you do is burning the muscle, especially because you're lowering your calories, you're lowering the food.
Yeah.
So your body is like, okay, so I don't need this much muscle because I'm eating less, and I'm not lifting that much like I used to.
Yeah.
So your body just finds that in between and be like, okay, I'm gonna cut in some muscle because I don't really to maintain that, because I don't have to lift this much weight.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, so I just maintain my weight. Of course, like I said, 12 weeks prior to the show, that's when we start cutting, you know, very slowly. Because normally when you rush your process, that's when you tend to lose muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in this. Some people try to, you know, be ready for a show in 5 weeks or 4 weeks, and then you can get ready. Don't get me wrong, but you're gonna lose a bunch of muscle.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, when you're gonna choose a show, it's like you're starting a business, man. You have to. Okay, so do I have the money? Do I have the time? Do I have the effort? Do I have the you know what I mean? So you got to look at that.
That's another thing is the time. Like, how much time? I mean, when I was doing my stuff, dude, it was like you're gonna. The inevitable is you're gonna dedicate your life to this thing, in order to be successful. At least, if you don't really give a shit, then do whatever you want. But if you want to actually do something, you know, you're gonna have to dedicate hours of your day.
I mean, you have to. Hey, look, you had to go to the gym. You have to prep your food, not just cook it, but like meal prep it in different amounts. You gotta weigh it, your water, your vitamins, whatever it is you're taking. And then besides that, you want to make sure you're sleeping. So you gotta make sure you plan your day also, because you don't want to waste time and then go to sleep late, because then that's a really good part also of making progress is sleeping, because that's when you actually grow. So I don't do very well on that because we're always working, you and I, but it's very important too. So time is key. You know, if you plan your day, if you're planning to do a show, you got to make sure you look at time. Do you have the time? Can you afford, you know, working 2 hours less to actually go to the gym? Can you afford, you know, you have to look at the whole picture. So that, you know.
Yeah, well, so time, money, and then I guess performance. Like, people think that it's just easy to get down to that, not easy, but like you get down to that body fat percentage and they don't understand the perspective. Like, what would be your insight of, you know, 4 weeks out or, you know, 2 weeks out, how your mental health is, or, you know what I mean? Like, go through a little bit about how it was leading.
So when I'm closing out my shows, I mean, 4 weeks out, it becomes so clean that you don't want to be eating around me. You're gonna feel like I'm a homeless. You know what I mean? Yeah. I clean everything. I don't eat any processed, nothing. You know, it's all natural. Everything is like, I mean, when I say natural, I mean, I don't put like flavoring stuff on my oats.
Yeah.
I don't do no like sugar-free syrup, nothing. You know, I take everything out. I just eat my oats plain. I eat my chicken, no seasoning. It's all like, I cut all the, anything that can actually,
not help you.
yeah, really, like anything that can, I might think that it's gonna make me hold water or anything like that. I cut it off. I'm like, okay, so 4 weeks out, it starts being like, you know, like when we call it savage time. You literally you have to be 100. 2 weeks out, it depends on how I'm looking. You know, all this is depending on how, you know, you're making progress. That's why I tell some of my clients is, you know, I cannot make, you know, decisions until I see what progress you're making. Because I cannot tell you, okay, well, we're going to start with this diet, but then if you're not making progress, that means you're not doing the diet I told you to do. Yes. So we got to like either keep, you know what I mean? So whatever. So 2 weeks out, it depends on how I'm looking. So let's say if I'm looking super shredded, I might up my calories, right? And make sure that I'm maintaining. I don't want to keep, you know, because if I'm already like super shredded, I don't want to keep, you know, I want to keep pushing it because I might lose muscle. So I just maintain my calories or up my calories to make sure for peak week I'm looking full. And so when I fill up back again, I don't have to fill up too much. And I know for a fact I'm not going to spill over, which is one of the biggest mistakes people make. They go super lean and they're like, okay, it's time to eat. And they overeat and then they look like, you know, they look all soft and the condition goes away, of course. So that's really, and then so peak week really is, you know, looking into water, salt, and all the good stuff that, you know, even I sometimes I listen to your stuff and you took it better. You definitely tag on things that I really don't think on what the stuff that I'm doing sometimes.
Yeah.
I go by how my body's feeling. So if I feel flat, if I feel like my body needs food, my body needs food.
Yep.
You know, but it also has to know that it's no hunger. It's that your body actually needs food, you know, because you could be hungry, like actually hungry because you're eating less calories, you're cutting all your food, but sometimes your muscles, to maintain your performance, you actually need more. And that's when you know, when you do it for a certain amount of time, you get to learn this, you know, it's like, it's kind
of crazy. Yeah. It's kind of crazy that you can, all the stuff you can manipulate, huh? And learning through the process, like, I don't know if you've heard some of my stories or just some of my content, like of, you know, water sodium manipulation, peak week stuff. You know, then there's you know, use of like diuretics, and there's use of all these different things, potassium, all these different things that, you know, is pretty common in the bodybuilding industry, whether it's men's physique or bodybuilding figure, whatever it is, it's all pretty common. So I think that kind of my approach to a peak week is exactly what you're saying, but I you know, limit the amount of things you have to do. Like, I rely on the diet making you so shredded that you don't have to do all these things. You know what I mean? Right. And that's they're kind of like aces to play at the very end if you didn't make the right decision during the first 12 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's awesome you say that, because it reminds me of my first show, because I didn't know nothing. And that's when you learn the most. That's what I'm saying about business as well. When you start something, man, that's when you learn the most. And my first show, I learned so much because I got shredded without doing cardio. I wasn't doing cardio. I was literally lifting and diet. And I got shredded. Like, even, I think my first show, I got pretty good. Like, I mean, not like Arnold level, but being my first show, I got pretty lean. And like you're saying, you know, if you know your body super well, you don't even have to do cardio, because if you know exactly what you need to go to the gym and perform, and you know the amounts that you need to perform at the gym and throughout the day, because that's the other thing. A lot of coaches out there, they'll be telling you, hey, you need to eat this, and they use the same diet for 10 different people. And let's say someone is a constructor, someone is working in an office, somebody is like a personal trainer, and they give the diet to all these different people, and they all have different amounts of calories, because a contractor doesn't spend the same amount of calories than a secretary.
Yeah.
The secretary is sitting all day. That's why I tell my client, okay, what do you do? And they'll be like, what do you need to know what I do? Well, I need to know what you're doing throughout the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Yeah.
I need to know the activity, the amount of activities you're doing throughout the day, because some people are active the whole freaking day. So,
yeah, and I know a lot of some of the people that I've competed around. I didn't coach them, but they were competing, and they would have a physical, like a landscaping job. And yeah, he didn't even do any cardio to get ready for the show, just like you're saying, because he didn't need to, because that was a source of cardio, you could say. He's constantly just active all day long. And actually your body's more prone to be able to, like, at a lower intensity exercise is great for, burning fat. So, I guess transitioning, kind of, we talk about peak week, get shredded, don't rely on the end, right? What about like post-show rebounding? What do you like? Yeah. How do you go about that?
Rebounding, man. So this is one of my, not my weak areas, but I tend to really go crazy after my shows. Something that I really gotta be honest with you, because every time I do a show, the day after I'm already eating pizza and I'm eating all these kind of craps. I never had to do like show back to back, except for my first year. So I know when I'm done with, let's say, the Arnold, I'm not gonna compete until the following year. So it's a 365 days prep for one show for 20 seconds on stage. So I don't care. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, I was going to say, like, I was going to ask you, most people think that 12 weeks that you were talking about is the prep. You know what I mean? Like, it's where like, that's the last part of everything.
That's like, that's when you make, like the people that make like things on wood. And then they had to color it at the end. Yeah, that's literally it. So you got to make the structure, right? The structure, that's really the art. And then when you color, when you have to like put paint on it, that's literally when you're shredding. That you just put paint on it. You just, hey, it's all done. Yep. So the hardest part really is, going month to month and maintaining your prep, maintaining your food, because that's when people really mess up. Because it's Thanksgiving weekend. I'm going to miss all my meals. I'm just going to wait for that big meal, So it's not that. It's a lifestyle. And anybody's supposed to know this. You're supposed to, if you're going to eat 6 times a day, if you want to take this serious, it's for your whole life,
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's a lifestyle. You got to change your whole, you know what I mean? And that's where I've, I love that when I competed, like the competition part of it, because I'm so competitive and all that stuff. But from a lifestyle standpoint, like, you got to know, like, to be able to be competitive, you're gonna have to do these measures and like adapt it as normal. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to become normal. Yeah, it's like, not like when people say, oh, why can't you have this and that? Like, you don't like to eat pizza. It's just like, well, I mean, I do, like, you know what I mean? Like, I used to eat it, but you kind of transition. You're like, well, I just don't, like, once you get so programmed, you're just like, I don't almost for the pleasure anymore. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you'll notice when you get those habits down, it's all literally habits. It's like, getting used to like brushing your teeth in the morning. Who doesn't do that, Because your parents taught you when you were small, hey, you got to brush your teeth in the morning. It's the same thing. So as long as you can do this as a habit, like literally I wake up and my first thing I go is straight to the kitchen, get my egg whites going. And so it's just a habit. And if I don't do it, man, I'm going crazy, and then and like the pizza thing, man, like when you co-workers, they're all eating donuts or whatever.
The people around you, man,
you feel it. And actually when you're so used to like clean food, when you actually buy a processed food like burgers or whatever, your body actually knows it. Like, it doesn't feel as good as clean. Yeah. So it's funny how everything like turns around. Like, you're like, oh man, this is actually not even good.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, when you go and you think that these, like, it's gonna be so good when you go and do this huge cheat, and all of a sudden you feel like complete shit, and you're like, oh. I'm not